It was just another morning at Willow Creek Academy, an elite private school, nestled in the heart of Chicago. Students filled the hallways, their laughter and chatter creating a steady hum of privileged existence. Expensive sneakers squeaked against polished marble floors. Designer backpacks swung over shoulders, and the latest iPhones were clutched in manicured hands. But amidst the luxury, there was one student who stood out not because he wanted to, but because he had no choice. Matt Carter, didn't come from money. While his classmates were chauffeured in sleek black SUVs, he arrived on a rusted bicycle, his hands calloused from waking up at dawn to help his grandfather at their family's ranch. His boots bore the dust of early morning chores, and his clothes, though always clean, were secondhand. It wasn't that Matt cared about fitting in. He was proud of where he came from, but he was tired of being treated as if he were less than his peers. His biggest adversary, Mr. Langston, his AP history teacher, a man who valued pedigree over potential, and saw Matt's presence in his classroom as an insult to the school's prestigious reputation. Every day, Langston found a way to undermine Matt's confidence, whether through subtle remarks or outright humiliation. "Carter," he called out one morning, as Matt quietly took notes, "enlighten us. What was the primary economic driver of the southern colonies?" Matt knew the answer: agriculture. But before he could respond, Langston smirked. "Oh wait, I forgot. You don't need a history lesson, do you? You live it. Tell us, do you still plow fields with a mule, or has your family upgraded to an actual tractor?" The class erupted into laughter. Heat rushed to Matt's face, but he kept his jaw tight, refusing to give Langston the satisfaction of a reaction. "That's enough," a voice interrupted. It was Emily Hastings, the smartest girl in school, and one of the few students who had ever treated Matt with kindness. That was uncalled for. Langston merely raised an eyebrow. "Defending the underdog, are we, Miss Hastings? How noble." The bell rang, signaling the end of class, but the damage was done. By lunch, whispers of Langston's latest humiliation had spread across the school. Matt did his best to ignore them, but deep down, a storm was brewing. He had taken enough. That evening, Matt returned home to find his grandfather, Thomas Carter, waiting for him on the porch. A former military man turned agricultural innovator, Thomas was a living legend in the farming community, known for revolutionizing sustainable practices that had reshaped the industry. But to Matt, he was simply Grandpa. "I heard about what happened today," Thomas said, his voice calm but firm. "You going to let one man's ignorance define you?" Matt sighed, staring at the setting sun. "It's not just one man, it's the whole school. No matter what I do, they'll always see me as some dirt-covered farm boy who doesn't belong." Thomas studied his grandson before speaking. "Respect isn't given, boy. It's earned. And not by proving yourself to people like him. You do it by being so undeniably great that they can't ignore you." Matt didn't respond, but something in his grandfather's words settled deep within him. The next morning, something unusual happened. A sleek black SUV pulled up to the school, but instead of some wealthy student stepping out, it was Thomas Carter himself, followed by 3 men in tailored suits. Within minutes, the headmaster was rushing to greet them. "What's going on?" students whispered as the school's faculty scrambled. Then, an announcement echoed through the hallways. "All students and faculty, please report to the auditorium immediately." Curious murmurs filled the halls as students poured into the massive assembly room. On stage, the headmaster stood next to Thomas Carter, who surveyed the room with quiet authority. Mr. Langston, now looking considerably less confident, sat among the staff. "Ladies and gentlemen," the headmaster began, "we have a very special guest with us today. Mr. Thomas Carter is not only a decorated veteran, but also the CEO of Carter Agricultural Industries, a company that has single-handedly modernized sustainable farming across the nation." A stunned silence followed. The name Carter finally clicked. "I was invited here," Thomas continued, his voice carrying through the auditorium, "to discuss innovation, leadership, and the importance of resilience. But before I do, I want to address something personal." His eyes locked onto Langston. "Yesterday, a teacher here belittled my grandson, implying that his background makes him less worthy of an education." Langston shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "That's an interesting perspective," Thomas mused. "Because without agriculture, none of you would have the food on your tables. Without the work my grandson's family does, many of the stores your parents own wouldn't have products to sell. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the room. Let me be clear. Intelligence isn't measured by wealth, and dignity isn't reserved for the privileged. If you judge someone based on their background, instead of their character, then you're the one who doesn't belong in a place of education. A long silence followed before the students erupted into applause. Even some teachers clapped, while Langston sat motionless, his face pale. As the assembly ended, Matt felt a hand on his shoulder. It was Emily. That was incredible, she said, smiling. I think you just changed the way a lot of people see you. Matt exhaled, the weight of years of silent endurance lifting from his shoulders. I didn't do anything. My grandfather just reminded them of something they should have already known. From that day forward, the whispers about Matt changed. No longer was he just the farm boy. He was the grandson of a man who commanded respect without demanding it, and in time, Matt learned to do the same.